I think the next piece we want to look at, Brian, is anything related to, for example, the development industry. And there's a variety of different pieces of legislation and a variety of different regulations that the government was moving forward with as it related to the development industry. I was wondering if you could provide some of your thoughts on, for example, the Ontario Municipal Board and what happened there.
Yeah, well, we here at Sussex, we acted for some clients with respect to the changes that were brought forward on the Ontario Municipal Board, and certainly the changes have been enacted. So there is now in place a local planning appeal tribunal instead of the Ontario Municipal Board, and the idea with that is that it gives greater powers to local politicians in terms of making decisions with respect to development. Interestingly, right now, there are concerns amongst the development community, there are concerns amongst local politicians and municipalities, pretty much everyone involved in the system, really unsure how it's going to play itself out, but also each having some concerns about perhaps it didn't go far enough, perhaps it went too far, and really not quite sure about this new regulatory regime. And certainly we know that there are many voices coming from many quarters suggesting that there are some changes. Even though it hasn't been tested yet, and even though it hasn't really been in place that substantially just yet, there are some changes that need to happen to this. And you know, we've had the Bill 5, the Better Local Government Act, that was introduced, which is proposing to shrink the size of Toronto City Council. Well, if you're giving more power to local politicians to make development decisions, and then you're shrinking the number of councillors that are there, that's only going to increase the power that's in place for those local politicians. So we're expecting to see that, you know, from a development perspective, period, there are some concerns, and that we would be interested to see. This is one of those that's below the radar, unless perhaps you're in the industry specifically, but certainly a burning issue there that people want to see some changes with.
Yeah, and I think there's also, for example, the building code. Every 5 to 7 years, the building code is supposed to change, or at least be updated every 5 to 7 years. There was a consultation period last year as related to the building code, and some of the proposed changes from the Wynne government related to their climate change action plan, updating the building code so that to reduce energy consumption to almost zero. And so some of the proposed changes included, for example, ensuring that there was outlets for electric vehicles in new buildings that were created. Supposed to come to effect, notionally supposed to come to effect January 1st, 2019, but it's unclear whether or not the government is going to make changes or whether they're going to let that particular building code as written that is so focused on environmental sustainability and climate change, if they're going to let that be enacted as of January 1st, 2019. It remains to be seen.